I'm married to my wife, Mary Jane. We've been married for 33 years. She just started this year her 36th year of teaching. She's a kindergarten teacher at Cache Public Schools. My daughter, Kelly, who also teaches LD math at Cache. My son, Levi, who works for the Juvenile Affairs and will be going active. He's a Lance Corporal in the United States Marines. We'll go active duty October 1st and scheduled to deploy for Afghanistan in January. We've got three beautiful grandchildren. My grandson Blake, who's 6, just started first grade. My 4-year-old granddaughter Lauren, who started pre-K this year, and my youngest grandchild Olivia, who's actually 3 months old today.
Wow. And Steve?
Well, I'm from Antlers, Oklahoma. My mother raised us 4 kids on her salary as a school teacher and as an extension home economist. I'm married to my high school sweetheart, Roberta. We've been married 35 years. I have 3 very successful, educated sons, but most important, I have 4 beautiful grandchildren, Parker, Emma, Lauren, and Brooke. Many people know my older brother, Mike. He was a former federal judge. My brother, David, who's running the banks, he served on the Oklahoma Department of Transportation Commission under Governor Walters and then Governor Keating's 2 terms. And my little sister is like me. She's a bean counter, CPA, and she's the chief financial officer for one of the largest furniture companies in the country. You know, first of all, I am a CPA. As you mentioned, I've been a partner in a CPA firm. We did all kinds of audits. We did a lot of governmental auditing. And for the past 27 years, I've been in the banking industry. But while I've been in the banking industry, I've been very involved in the audit process. I have served on several private company boards. One was a $2 billion bank that I was on the audit committee, responsible for internal controls in the bank, responsible for the external audit, the planning. I was on a board of a private insurance company, and I was on that audit committee where our responsibility was, again, proper internal controls and planning and managing the external audit process.
Studying accounting since I was 18 years old. Like I said, I'm a certified public accountant, certified fraud examiner. Went to work for Bell Telephone at 18. At 20 was promoted into management. 21 was promoted again to the Office of Planning and Budgets. Did independent cost studies, audited those results and findings. Started my own business myself and a part-time employee. Actually had $4,000 in savings and quit my job at Bell Telephone. Built that business to over 40 employees. Ran for county commissioner, didn't take a single penny in campaign contributions back in 1994, beat a 10-year incumbent. And as county commissioner, worked to show that government can be more efficient, more effective. We actually built the most productive bridge building program in the history of the state. We're traditionally a county commissioner who builds somewhere between 4 and 6 bridges. Working and using my accounting skills and business background, we went out to find better, more efficient ways of doing things. We didn't just build 4 or 6 bridges. We built 34, all steel and concrete, most in the history of the state. I served as chairman of the Republican Party, which is actually beneficial because I always remember something J.C. Watts said. He said once he got out of professional sports, he never dreamed he'd get into a profession that people had bigger egos. and dealing with those egos and dealing with those elected officials is a big part of this job. I've done that. We've done it successfully, and I think it's been very beneficial in this job. Well, first of all, what I'm amazed about is the fact that very few people understand what the state auditor does. And one of the big concerns is people do not have trust in government. They don't trust what government's doing. They're fed up with the inefficiencies, the waste in government. And I have a history of being effective and efficient. And so, going out and talking to them about the issues and about how we truly can be the watchdog for the citizens of Oklahoma is the number one thing I'm hearing people talk about.
And Steve, in your travels as a candidate, what are you hearing?
Well, people are concerned about the way their money is being spent. They want someone in that office that is truly independent, that will be a watchdog over the taxpayers' money. This money is hard earned, and they just want to make sure that it's spent in a proper manner, that it's effective and efficient, and, because it's their money. The number one issue in this race for the state auditor's position is that you have an auditor that's a professional. I was brought out of the private sector. I'm not a politician. Governor Henry wanted someone that had private sector experience, that understood the auditing function, that had been involved in the auditing function. My job is to operate an office that we audit taxpayers' money. 49% of Oklahoma's budget comes from the federal government. And I have the responsibility of doing financial and compliance audits, to make sure that that money is spent properly.
Well, I think the number one issue is to safeguard the public's interest, to make sure their tax dollars are spent legally and effectively, but also efficiently. People are tired of waste. I said there's a big difference between my opponent and myself. For instance, one of the first things that he did is come in the office and spend, if you include the architect fees, over $275,000 to remodel the office, which equates to over $100 a square foot. I wouldn't do that. I would come in to look to see what we do to accomplish our functions. And you know, people spend, you know, they work hard for their tax dollars. And they want somebody that'll lead by example. What I'll do is go in there and make sure that we focus on the issues at hand, which is auditing, make sure that the people's interest is taken care of, and also go in and do performance audits to find those ways to make government more efficient, more effective, and do that. I'll do that. I won't be spending money on fancy things for the office. I'll be spending money on things that actually accomplish what the people want, which is to provide trust and integrity in government.
Gary, give me some background on the position of state auditor. How many people are involved? What's the size of the budget? What is it?
Well, the budget is approximately $10 million right now. I think there's approximately 120 people on staff right now. Don't know exactly how many of those are auditors, but you do have a big staff. You know, when I was 20 years old, I was managing 100 telephone operators at Bell Telephone. So you have to really sit down and be a manager. I've been a manager for over 30 years. And that's the big function. It's about how you manage the functions, how you take the tasks that are assigned to you, and accomplishing those tasks in an efficient, effective, and a timely manner. And that's one thing that we will definitely focus on.
Steve, the idea of managing the department for the state.
Well, first of all, that was a renovation, but I won't get into that. I have about 120 auditors. I have offices in Ada, Weatherford, and Tulsa. But more importantly, you know, I have cut the administrative overhead of the auditor's office by over $1 million. I stepped into an office that was a political dumping ground. I've got rid of those people. I'm only hiring qualified people to work in the auditor's office, and I am accepting applications right now if anybody out there has an accounting degree and needs a job. But we're operating that office at a high level of efficiency. And you know, I'm just out to save taxpayers' money.
Well, the first thing you have to do is you have to make sure that you keep the task at hand. That you go through, you put your scope of the audit, you move forward, and that you concentrate on the issues. And you know, you're going to have political pressure just by the nature of the job. But the key is that you maintain focus on the audit. That and when you get those political naysayers, then don't engage them. You know, you got to be real careful. And you know, one thing that I think has happened is you can't go out there and talk about existing audits or pending audits in giving speeches to civic clubs and talking to political events, and then not expect to get criticized on the back end. You know, you got to be real careful to make sure that you don't go out there talking about issues and you don't have discussions with people that aren't involved in that audit process.
Steve?
Well, I'm experiencing the political pressure right now concerning my audit over Broken Arrow Public Schools that was requested by the Broken Arrow School Board. It was not a request from an Attorney General or DA. And, you know, to withhold the release of audit because of impaired independence on part of the auditor, the leak of what was not even a draft, it was a compilation of the auditor's thoughts to the press the day before I was to release that audit. But I did what anybody in my profession would have done. I know it wasn't politically popular, but I had to refer to what is professional and what is ethical, and that was not to release the audit till we investigated everything. And then during that process, the Attorney General asked me to go in and change the scope of that audit from sort of agreed upon procedures between myself and the school board, and to turn it into a full investigation. You know, obviously they can try, but if an auditor abides by his code of conduct as set forth by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, you know that you will remain independent and you will maintain a proper judgment and integrity. So surely that can happen. I've been accused of it happening on the Broken Arrow Public Schools audit, but that is completely false. That is uninformed people making comments about something they don't know about. And like my opponent, I'll put it this way, it's kind of like a nurse criticizing a doctor when the nurse hasn't even been in the same room as the patient.
Well, no, it's the entity that's being audited should have their input during the auditing process or through the exit interview. But let me respond to the comment by my opponent. My criticism has not been on the results of the audit. My criticism has been on the lack of timeliness. And I mentioned, Mr. Burridge has been traveling around the state talking to civic club after civic club about the audits, and on occasion at political events talking about the Broken Arrow audit. The other day, I think it was August 5th, Mr. Burridge, an employee left somewhere from central Oklahoma, went to Tulsa, and went to the Tulsa airport, was joined by another employee, and Mr. Burridge and a fourth employee got on his bank's corporate plane, flew to the Tulsa airport, and then they went to the Skytook Rotary Club to talk about a 6-month-old audit. I got a call from somebody said there was 3 cars from the state auditor's office at that Rotary Club, and so I sit there and think, well, there's at least 5 employees from the state auditor's office talking to a civic club, and this has been happening, throughout the state. When you've got a pending audit, when the school system of Broken Arrow is in an uproar, I fail to see that the proper amount of resources were put to get that audit released in a timely manner.
Steve, you want to respond?
I really have no response to that. The people that were at Skytook, I did fly there in my own airplane. 2 of them were some of my friends. The public requested that the 2 investigative auditors that worked on that be there. It wasn't just a Rotary Club meeting. It was a meeting that the Rotary Club called and invited the whole town over the audit we did on Skytook Public Schools. And so I did have 2 of the auditors that performed that investigative audit because I was asked by the public for them to be present in case they had any specific questions. First of all, I'm clearly the most qualified to be the state auditor and inspector in the state of Oklahoma. I bring to this office 35 years of private sector experience, not only in banking, but in accounting and auditing. I have been a partner in a CPA firm that we did audits of all kinds. Since I've been in office, I've uncovered over $4 million in fraud. The sad part about it is $2 million of that has been in our public school systems. Yes, I do go around the state. I'm trying to teach people that are in a position of governance what it means and what their responsibilities are to have a proper system of checks and balances, what it means to have proper segregation of duties in the entities that they are put in a position of governance. Because every time I go into a situation where we have fraud and abuse, I see a breakdown in internal controls, a lack of segregation of duties. I also teach at the new school board member workshop, and I show them what a proper system of internal controls are that they need to utilize so we can prevent some of this waste, fraud, and abuse. We're not going to stop it, but at least we can catch it before it gets out of hand at situations like City Public Schools, Skytook Public Schools, Butner Public Schools, Wagner Public Schools. Those are the schools I've been in since I've been in office. And currently, just recently, I've been asked to go into 2 more schools. So we've got to prevent this from happening.
Gary?
People need somebody they can trust. They need somebody that'll lead by example. I have a history of uncovering more corruption in the state of Oklahoma than the last 3 auditors combined. People want to see government more efficient, more effective. I've done that, and we'll continue to do that. But what we will do is we'll focus to make sure that the citizens of Oklahoma know that there's a watchdog watching out for them. My opponent takes credit for audits that are done. These are things that other people found. We will do that, but we will do it in an efficient and effective manner and do it in a timely manner. Right now, the state auditor's office is behind many years. There's counties out there that haven't been audited for 3 or 4 years, and that's unacceptable. We need to make absolutely sure that the resources that the citizens give us are used in a very cost-effective, efficient manner, and that we do these things in a timely manner. A 3-year-old audit is of no good. We need to make sure that the citizens of Oklahoma get what they pay for. We need to instill trust in that, and the way that we instill trust in government is to go out there and to lead by example and to make sure that the citizens know that the person that's their state auditor is somebody they can turn to, that somebody they can report something to, and if there's some wrongdoing, that it'll be investigated, it'll be reported on, and that the good people that are working in government will have somebody that'll assist them in doing their job, and the citizens out there, the elected officials that are stealing from the public, will get caught and pay the price.